Have you ever taken off your socks at the end of the day and noticed deep marks around your ankles? Or looked down and thought, why do my feet look puffier than usual? Maybe your shoes feel tighter by the evening, or your ankles look like they're carrying extra weight they didn't have in the morning. If you've ever experienced that uncomfortable swelling in your feet or lower legs, you're not alone, and you're certainly not imagining it. For many older adults, swollen feet are a common, frustrating part of everyday life. But just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal, or that you have to live with it. Swelling, also known as edema, can tell us a lot about what's going on inside the body. Sometimes it's harmless and goes away on its own. But other times, it's your body's way of whispering, pay attention. And if we listen closely, those whispers can help us avoid bigger health issues later on. Today, we're going to talk honestly and gently about why this happens, what you can do about it, and how you can take small, practical steps every day to reduce swelling and feel more comfortable. No fancy equipment, no extreme routines, just a little awareness and a lot of care. Let's start by understanding the why. Most swelling in the feet happens because fluid gets trapped in the soft tissues. Think of your legs like a long tube. Gravity naturally pulls fluids down toward your feet. Now, your body has a built-in system, your veins and lymphatic vessels, that are supposed to send that fluid back up toward your heart. But over time, especially after 60, that system can slow down. Your veins might not push blood as efficiently as they used to. The tiny valves that keep blood moving upward can weaken, and your lymphatic system might not drain fluid as quickly. And when that happens, you get swelling. Sometimes it's mild. You notice it at the end of a long day, especially if you've been on your feet a lot. But other times, it lingers. It becomes uncomfortable. Shoes stop fitting properly. Walking feels harder. And worst of all, it can sneak up on you slowly, until one day you realize your legs don't feel like your own anymore. One of the most common contributors is sitting or standing for too long. Maybe you love reading in your recliner, or watching a few episodes of your favorite show in the afternoon. Or maybe you stand in the kitchen for an hour preparing dinner, and by the time you're done, your feet feel like they've had enough. What's happening in both situations is the same. Your blood and fluid are pooling in the lower part of your body, and without movement, they're not getting the gentle push they need to move back up. I remember a woman named Grace, 73, who came to one of our community wellness events. She said she'd started noticing her feet swelling more often and blamed it on her salt intake. But after chatting for a bit, I learned she spent nearly 4 hours a day sitting at her jigsaw puzzle table. She loved her puzzles, but she wasn't taking breaks to stand, walk, or even stretch. Once she started setting a simple kitchen timer to remind herself to stand up every 45 minutes, just to walk around the room or march in place, the swelling began to ease. It wasn't about stopping the things she loved. It was about adding a little movement back into her day. Another big reason for swelling is poor circulation, especially if you've ever been told you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart issues. These conditions can slow the flow of blood or make it harder for your body to pump fluids effectively. And when circulation slows, swelling isn't far behind. This kind of swelling often builds gradually. You might feel fine in the morning, but notice your socks getting tighter by evening. Or you might see swelling more in one leg than the other, depending on your posture or sleeping position. There's also the issue of medications. Some of the very pills we rely on to manage health after 60, like certain blood pressure meds, steroids, or anti-inflammatories, can have side effects that include swelling. That doesn't mean you should stop taking them, of course, but it's something to keep an eye on. If you've recently started a new medication and noticed swelling you didn't have before, bring it up to your doctor. It might be a simple fix, a dosage adjustment, or switching to a different drug that works just as well without causing fluid retention. And sometimes, swelling comes from something we wouldn't expect: low protein levels, especially if we're not eating quite as well as we used to. As we age, our appetites can change. Maybe we don't cook as often, or we eat smaller meals. But proteins help pull fluid out of tissues and back into the bloodstream. When our protein intake drops too low, fluid tends to linger in the body, and the feet are usually the first place it shows up. That happened to a man named Peter, who was 81 and very active for his age. He walked daily, stayed involved in his church, and took good care of himself. But his feet began swelling in a way he hadn't experienced before. After some blood work, his doctor found his protein levels were low. He hadn't been eating enough due to some dental problems that made chewing harder. Once he started adding softer, protein-rich foods like scrambled eggs, yogurt, and protein shakes, the swelling improved significantly. So yes, swelling is common, but it always has a cost. Whether it's inactivity, circulation issues, side effects from medication, or even nutrition, your body is trying to tell you something. And the more you understand your own patterns, the better equipped you'll be to make small, smart changes that bring relief. Now that we've taken a closer look at why swelling happens and how to spot it, let's begin talking about what we can do to treat and prevent it in simple, easy ways that fit into your everyday life. The first thing I always like to encourage people to do is elevate their feet, and not just at bedtime. Elevation is one of the easiest and most effective ways to reduce swelling, especially if you've been on your feet for long stretches or even sitting still for too long. All it takes is a little gravity shift. By raising your feet above the level of your heart, you're giving fluid in the legs a chance to drain upward, helping your body reset. I know a man named Harold, 78, who used to come home from his morning walks and sit in his recliner for hours. But his feet still swelled up by evening, no matter how much he walked. Then, on his doctor's suggestion, he started lying on the couch for just 15 minutes after lunch with his legs up on two firm pillows. Within a week, he noticed the difference. His ankles weren't nearly as puffy, and he said he even felt lighter when walking. That one little change, adding a daily foot elevation break, gave his legs the support they'd been quietly asking for. If lying down during the day isn't realistic for you, you can still get the benefits. When sitting in your favorite chair or recliner, rest your feet on a stool or cushion, anything that brings them a little higher than your hips. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just that little angle can help ease the pressure in your lower legs and reduce the pooling of fluid. Next, let's talk about movement. Gentle movement is one of the most powerful tools we have as we age, and when it comes to swelling, it's absolutely essential. That doesn't mean intense workouts or going to the gym. I'm talking about regular, light activity throughout the day to keep your blood flowing and your muscles engaged. You see, when your calf muscles contract, even just a little, they act like a natural pump, helping push fluid up through the veins. And the more often you use those muscles, the less chance fluid has to settle in your feet. A simple walk around the house, 5 to 10 minutes every hour or so, can work wonders. Marching in place while brushing your teeth, stretching your legs while sitting at the kitchen table, doing ankle circles or heel lifts while watching TV. None of it needs to feel like exercise. It's just about keeping the body engaged, little by little. I remember a woman named Ruth, 82, who swore she couldn't do much activity because of arthritis in her knees. But after we talked, she agreed to try standing during commercial breaks while watching her afternoon soap operas. She would slowly march in place or shift from side to side for just a couple minutes. That alone helped her feel steadier on her feet, and the swelling in her ankles noticeably decreased. Turns out, she said with a smile, those commercials are good for more than just selling me cereal. Let's also talk about compression. And I know. The minute I say compression socks, a lot of people start shaking their heads. They think of thick, itchy fabric that's hard to pull on and uncomfortable to wear. But hear me out. Compression socks have come a long way. There are soft, breathable versions now, easy to put on, and much more comfortable for everyday wear. These socks work by gently squeezing your legs to help your blood and lymphatic fluid move upward. They're especially helpful if you're sitting for long periods or traveling, like on car rides or flights. Even wearing them for a few hours in the morning can make a noticeable difference in swelling by evening. Eleanor, 74, told me she dreaded wearing them at first. But after her daughter bought her a pair of light, knee-high compression socks in a floral print, something cute, she said, she gave them a try. Not only did she feel better walking through the grocery store, but she also noticed her shoes fit more comfortably. And that, to her, was enough. "I'm not giving up my style," she said, "but I'm definitely giving up the swelling." Now, one area people often overlook when dealing with swelling is hydration. It may sound backward. Why would I drink more water if my body is already retaining fluid? But here's the thing. When we don't drink enough water, the body holds on to what little it has. It's a survival mechanism. So if you're not staying hydrated, your body might actually hold on to extra fluid, leading to more swelling. Try sipping water throughout the day. Keep a glass or bottle nearby and take little sips often. Herbal teas, broths, and water-rich fruits like watermelon and cucumber can also help keep you hydrated, especially if plain water isn't your favorite. And then there's salt. We can't ignore the role sodium plays in fluid retention. Too much salt in the diet makes the body retain water, and guess where that water tends to collect first? The feet and ankles. This doesn't mean you have to cut out all flavor or toss your favorite snacks, but just being mindful of hidden salt in canned soups, frozen meals, and processed snacks can go a long way. A gentleman I met named Paul, 76, loved his ham sandwiches and packaged chips every day at lunch. But his ankles told a different story. Once he started swapping in lower sodium turkey and fresh veggies, and switched to unsalted popcorn, his swelling began to ease. "I didn't realize how much salt I was eating until my socks wouldn't fit," he laughed. It's these small shifts, nothing dramatic, nothing overwhelming, that begin to tip the balance back in your favor. And the more consistent you are with them, the more your body responds. By now, we've looked at several gentle ways to reduce swelling. Elevating your legs, moving more often, staying hydrated, watching salt, and trying compression. These strategies aren't about perfection. They're about presence, about giving your body just enough care each day to keep your feet light, your steps steady, and your comfort within reach. And while these tools can bring real relief, there's still one more piece of the puzzle we haven't touched yet. The times when swelling is trying to warn you about something more serious. And how to recognize when it's time to call your doctor. And not just reach for another pillow. Not just reach for another pillow. Because while most cases of swollen feet in older adults are manageable with a few lifestyle tweaks, there are times when swelling is more than just an inconvenience. It's your body waving a red flag. One of the most important things to watch for is sudden swelling, especially if it comes on quickly and only affects one leg. This can sometimes point to a blood clot, also known as deep vein thrombosis. It might come with pain, tenderness, warmth, or a reddish tint to the skin. Now, I know that sounds a little scary, but here's the thing, catching it early makes a huge difference. If you notice swelling that's new, painful, or feels different than your usual experience, especially in just one leg, don't wait it out. Call your doctor. Get it checked. I remember a woman named Shirley who was 79 and incredibly active. One morning, she noticed her left ankle looked puffier than usual, and it felt warm to the touch. It didn't hurt much, so she almost ignored it. But something didn't sit right. Her daughter encouraged her to call the clinic. Turns out, she had a small clot that could have gotten worse if left untreated. They caught it in time, and she's been healthy ever since. I didn't want to make a fuss, she told me, but I'm glad I did. Another situation to be mindful of is swelling accompanied by shortness of breath or chest discomfort. This can sometimes be a sign of a heart issue, like congestive heart failure. When the heart can't pump blood as efficiently, fluid can back up, not just in the legs, but also in the lungs. If your feet are swollen and you feel winded after mild activity, or if lying flat makes it harder to breathe, it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. These symptoms don't always mean something is seriously wrong, but they always mean you deserve a closer look. And then there's swelling that's persistent and doesn't improve, even when you're doing everything right, moving, elevating, drinking water, wearing compression socks. If you've made several changes and still don't see improvement after a couple of weeks, it's okay to say, I need help with this. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of wisdom. You're listening to your body, and that's the smartest thing you can do. What I hope you take away from all this is that you have more power than you think. Yes, aging brings changes. Yes, our bodies may need a little more care than they used to, but they also reward us more deeply for the effort we give. Small steps, literally and figuratively, can create big results. So what can you do? Starting today, you can elevate your feet for 15 minutes after lunch. You can stand and walk for a few minutes every hour or two. You can stretch your ankles while watching the evening news. You can sip a little more water throughout the day. You can swap salty snacks for something fresh and delicious. You can ask questions, speak up, and take pride in taking care of yourself. And perhaps more than anything, you can remember that your body is still listening to you, still working with you, still capable of healing and strength and comfort. That hasn't changed. I know it's easy to feel like certain things are just part of getting older. Swollen feet, that's normal, right? But let's not confuse common with unavoidable. Just because something is happening to a lot of people your age doesn't mean it has to happen to you, or that it has to stay that way. Your feet are the foundation of your freedom. They carry you through every room, every outing, every quiet moment on the porch or walk through the garden. And when they're comfortable, when they're cared for, they carry you with more ease, more stability, and more joy. So if you've been dealing with swelling, I want you to know this. You're not stuck with it. You can take steps, one at a time, to feel better. And we're here to walk with you through it all. If this video has helped you feel more confident, or if you've recognized something in your own experience, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What have your feet been telling you lately? What's one small change you're willing to try? And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got more warm, practical health tips coming your way, all tailored for your life, your body, and your well-being after 60. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of those feet. Take care of yourself. And remember, your comfort matters, your health matters, and you're doing better than you think. Here's to walking through life with strength, ease, and confidence at any age.